Imagine standing in a room, completely alone, holding a small glass bulb in your hands. You have tried to make it work 1,000 times, 1,000, and every single time it failed. Most people would throw that bulb against the wall. Most people would say, "This is impossible. I am done." But this man, this boy who once failed school, picked up his notebook, wrote down what went wrong, and tried again. That boy's name was Thomas Edison, and by the end of this story, you will understand why failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the road to it. Let us go back to the beginning. It is the year 1855, a small town in Ohio, America. A 7-year-old boy sits in a one-room school. The teacher is writing numbers on a blackboard. The boy cannot follow. He asks too many questions. He asks why the sky is blue. He asks why fire burns. He asks why the river moves. The teacher gets frustrated. After a few months, the teacher calls the boy's mother and says something that no parent wants to hear. He says, "Your son is too stupid to learn anything. He has a confused brain. Please take him out of school." The mother's name was Nancy Edison, and she did not cry. She did not agree. She looked at that teacher and said, "My son is not stupid. You simply do not know how to teach him." She took her son home, and she became his teacher. That one decision changed the world. Nancy gave Thomas books. Not easy books, real books. Books about science, history, and nature. She read to him. She explained things. She answered his questions, not with "stop asking," but with real answers. And something incredible happened. The boy who could not sit still in school started reading for 10 hours a day. He could not stop. He was hungry for knowledge the way other children are hungry for food. By the age of 10, Thomas had already read books that university students study. But his family was poor, very poor. And so, at age 12, Thomas Edison started working. He got a job on a train. He sold newspapers and candy to passengers. Every morning, very early, he got on the train. Every evening, he came home. But here is what made Thomas different from other boys who did the same job. He spent every free minute reading. He carried books in his bag. He read between stops. He asked questions to every interesting person he met on that train. He turned that train into his classroom. Then, one afternoon, something happened that changed his life again. A young boy was playing near the train tracks at a station. A heavy metal train car was rolling toward him, completely out of control. Everyone froze. Everyone watched. But Thomas ran. He jumped down and pulled the boy away just before the train car reached them. The boy's father was the station telegraph operator. A telegraph operator sent messages using electrical signals. It was the internet of the 1860s. The man was so grateful that he offered to teach Thomas how to use the telegraph machine for free. Thomas said yes immediately. Within months, Thomas Edison became one of the fastest telegraph operators in the country. But Thomas was never satisfied with simply doing a job. He always wanted to improve things. He looked at the telegraph machine and thought, "This can be better." He stayed awake late into the night, experimenting. He took machines apart and put them back together. His boss called him lazy. His boss said he spent too much time thinking and not enough time working. Thomas was fired. This was the first failure, but not the last. He moved to another city, got another telegraph job, was fired again. He moved again. He experimented again. He failed again. By the time Thomas Edison was 21 years old, he had lost multiple jobs, had almost no money, and was sleeping on floors and park benches in strange cities. Most people would have gone home. Thomas Edison started working harder. In 1869, Edison arrived in New York City. He was 22 years old and had almost nothing. He slept in the basement of a company that made stock tickers, machines that printed financial information for businesses. One day, the main machine broke down completely. The entire office stopped working. People were panicking. Nobody could fix it. Thomas looked at the machine, opened it carefully, found a small broken spring, replaced it, and had the whole system running again within 2 hours. The boss was stunned. He offered Thomas a full position on the spot. That job gave Edison just enough money to do what he had always dreamed of doing. He opened his own small laboratory and began inventing. His first major success was an improved stock ticker. He sold the rights and received $40,000, a life-changing amount of money in 1870. Thomas did not buy a large house. He did not buy fine clothes. He used almost every dollar to build a bigger laboratory and hire skilled assistants. He was completely focused. He had a plan. In 1876, Edison built what became one of the most famous laboratories in history, in a quiet town called Menlo Park in New Jersey. He called it an invention factory. He told people that he planned to create a small invention every 10 days and a major invention every 6 months. People laughed at him. They said that was impossible. The following years proved them wrong. Edison invented the phonograph, a machine that could record a human voice and play it back. When he first demonstrated it in front of reporters, the room went completely silent. Then it burst into applause. No machine had ever done this before. Newspapers called him the Wizard of Menlo Park. For the first time in his life, the whole world was watching Thomas Edison. But he did not rest. He was already thinking about the next great problem. At night, cities were dark and dangerous. People used candles and gas lamps. These were expensive, dirty, and caused many fires. Edison believed electricity could create light, a clean, safe, affordable light for ordinary people. Other scientists had tried and failed. Some experts publicly stated it was physically impossible. But Thomas Edison did not think in terms of impossible. He began experimenting. He needed to find the right material for something called a filament, a very thin thread inside a glass bulb that glows when electricity passes through it. He tested carbon. It burned out too quickly. He tested metals. They melted. He tested human hair. He tested cotton. He tested grass. He tested bamboo. He tested fishing line. He tested thousands of different materials, carefully, one by one, day after day, month after month. His assistants grew exhausted. Some quit. Investors began to worry. Newspaper reporters came to his laboratory and wrote stories calling him a fool who was wasting everyone's time and money. After hundreds of attempts, one famous reporter looked at him and asked, "Mr. Edison, you have failed hundreds of times. How does it feel to fail so much?" Edison looked directly at him and said something that people still repeat today. He said, "I have not failed. I have simply found many ways that do not work, and I am closer to the answer each time." He kept going. Then, on October 22, 1879, Edison placed a small piece of carbonized cotton thread, cotton that had been burned and treated, inside a glass bulb. He removed the air from inside the bulb to create a vacuum. He connected it carefully to electricity. He watched. The bulb glowed. It kept glowing. For 13.5 continuous hours, without stopping, it glowed. Thomas Edison had invented the practical electric light bulb. He was 32 years old, and he had changed the world forever. But here's the part of the story that most people never tell. One working light bulb was not enough. Edison understood that a single bulb was useless without an entire system to deliver electricity to homes and streets. So he spent the next 3 years designing electrical power stations, laying underground cables through the streets of New York City, creating meters to measure how much electricity each building used, and building a complete electrical network from the ground up. On September 4, 1882, Edison stood in a building in Lower Manhattan, New York. He flipped a switch. 85 buildings lit up at the same moment. People standing on the streets below stopped walking. They looked up at the warm electric light glowing through windows above them. Some people cried. Some clapped. Some simply stared in silence. The age of electricity had officially arrived. Over the course of his lifetime, Thomas Edison received 1,093 patents, official government recognition of 1,093 separate inventions in his name. He created the phonograph. He built the motion picture camera, which eventually led to cinema and films. He made significant improvements to the telephone. He created the world's first industrial research laboratory, which became the model for how science and technology are developed today. All of this from the boy who was told he was too stupid to learn anything. In December 1914, when Edison was 67 years old, a large fire broke out at his laboratory complex in West Orange, New Jersey. 10 buildings burned completely to the ground. A lifetime of research notes, prototypes, and equipment was destroyed. The financial damage was enormous. Edison's son, Charles, ran to find his father when he saw the orange flames rising into the night sky. He expected to find an old man broken with grief. Instead, Thomas Edison was standing outside, watching the fire with a calm, steady expression. He turned to his son and said quietly, "Go get your mother and her friends. They will never see a fire like this in their lives." Then he paused and added, "We are lucky. All our mistakes are burned. Now we can start fresh." The very next morning, he began rebuilding. This is who Thomas Edison truly was. Not a man without problems. Not a man without pain or loss. Not a man who never fell. He was a man who fell 1,000 times and got up 1,001 times, and kept walking forward without looking back. He once said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." In simple words, great achievement is almost never about talent alone. It is about showing up every single day, even when you are completely exhausted, even when people are laughing at you, even when everything you built burns to the ground. Thomas Edison died on October 18, 1931. He was 84 years old. On the night he passed away, the President of the United States asked every American citizen to turn off their electric lights for 1 full minute to honor the man who had given light to the world. Think about that image for just a moment. The boy who was too stupid for school. The boy who was fired from job after job. The boy who slept on floors with empty pockets. The boy who failed 10,000 times in a cold laboratory in New Jersey. That boy lit up the entire world, and when he was gone, the world went dark for a minute just to say thank you. The next time life feels too hard, the next time you fail a test, lose a job, or feel like you are not good enough, remember Thomas Edison's notebook. Remember that every wrong result was not a failure. It was a step, one step closer to the answer. Every dark night he spent alone in that laboratory was not wasted time. It was preparation. Every lamp you turn on, every screen you look at, every city glowing beautifully in the darkness, it all began because one boy who failed at school refused to stop asking why. So the real question is never whether you will fail. You will. Everyone does. The only question that truly matters is, what will you write in your notebook when you do?